Matthew Binns enjoying being on the internet, ladies and gentlemen. And I think we're on the internet.
Uh, I'm gonna check whether we're on the internet.
Yep, I think we are. I think we're live.
This is this is like a bunch
It's-
of boomers trying to figure out how the internet works. Oh, is this the Instagram the kids are always talking about? All right.
It's smoother
Anyway,
every week.
that is what people are tuned in for. Is that right there? They wanted to hear the old man voice. Anyway. Gentlemen, we don't have too many more of these bunker editions left. I expect the social distancing measures are going to be a little bit looser soon. If you live up here in Seoul and you went to Itaewon over the weekend, they're already quite loose as it is. Um, but how are you holding up down in the countryside there, Pete? We haven't talked to anybody down in Gimje about all this yet.
Yeah, if you came to visit here, you wouldn't really notice anything was different at the minute. I mean, we've only had one case, but holding up quite well, yeah.
All right, well, that's good. Bins, how are you doing on your side of Seoul?
Uh, well, it's not that far from your side of Seoul,
No, it's
really.
not.
So
It's
yeah,
not.
but I'm doing all right. I'm just playing Nintendo Switch every day. I've completed Zelda, so now
Oh, you finally
moved
went
on.
into okay.
I'm trying not to buy Animal Crossing because everything about it screams it's not a game for me. But at the same time, I saw that you can make like kits on it,
Mhm.
and I saw like J League people making kits, and I got quite jealous, and I thought, well, I could be the one to make the K League kits. And then there's also the fact I can't design things, so that might also be a factor into
That
not purchasing it.
that is a rabbit hole that you may not want to go down. Anyway, are we ready to do this podcast, gentlemen? For those of you
Yeah.
joining us live, we're going to be talking about transfers, but we'll do the whole rigmarole as if you didn't see any of this, us figuring out how the internet works. All right, here we go. Hello, annyeonghaseyo, Ryan Walters in the K-League United bunker, joined by Matthew Binns
Hello.
and Pete Hampshire.
Good evening. Hello.
Gentlemen, welcome. We're back for another quarantine edition, but probably not for too much longer. And we can't bury the lead on this at all. The main thing, the thing to be excited about right now, K-League is coming back, gentlemen. May 8th, we're in. And Peter and Matthew, I believe you will be some of the few, we're going to try anyway, you're going to be some of the few press that will actually be at that game.
Yeah, we were discussing about this earlier. We might be the only two foreigners not on the playing or coaching staff to actually be at the game, but we've been given we've got the checklist from the K League. There's a lot of stringent measures in place for media, so it's going to be quite interesting having to go through all of them, and we're probably going to get guided around a lot. It sounds like we're going to be doing interviews on the pitch, so going to be having my phone on a selfie stick trying to reach out to Jose Moraes.
To get to my Friday work, I've got to cycle 12 kilometers. So, and then I don't know what I'm going to do with my bike when I get. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to turn up like a sweaty mess. Just all right, Jose, you ready for the match?
I love the
Definitely
idea.
not have it. There'll be no problem with the 2 meters distance.
Yeah.
That's going to be for sure.
Right. And I
Yeah.
love the idea of you going through the heat check on the way in, just this big sweaty mess. No, I'm fine. Trust me, it's all right. It'd be great.
Jajanggot.
Yeah. Also, the other thing going on this week, nearly of equal importance, is the K-League Club contest that we had last week. And I've realized something, gentlemen, and that is that Paul Neat is the Suwon Samsung Blue Wings of internet polls. You do not go against Paul Neat in an internet poll. I'm done. Sokcho's done. Like, it's just... Matthew, you and I just have to bow down to our Goyang overlords here. That's it.
Don't play sympathy card. I have 10 votes. Sejong City is not the attractive proposition that I pitched last week. Apparently, I
Well-
think the kits did it for many.
If it was Sejong City and you and I were both in, see, I think City Football Group is what sunk me because people were into the pitch for the most part, but then they were like, "Oh, I don't want your corporate money." But you know what? I don't want people of the town to have to pay for it. But anyway, that was last week's podcast, and soon we'll be seeing Paul Neat's Goyang North End in Pez because I've been trying to play Pez lately, just so I can get this thing up and running. And we're gonna put him into K League. And I'm very determined to get Goyang North End into the AFC Champions League once I figure out how to play Pez, because I am not very good at that game. So that's all that we have to look forward to. That and just that little thing of K-League coming back on May 8th, Friday night, and we'll have Jumbuk hosting Suwon Samsung Blue Wings. The rest of the schedule will be out soon. There are a few reported rumors of the schedule being out already for K1 and K2, but we'll have some official stuff up on the site later this week on KLeague.com and, of course, on KLeagueUnited.com. But that's not what we're here about this week. This week, these two gentlemen are joining me because we finally got football to talk about again, guys. We don't have to talk about these hypothetical teams that we made up out of nowhere that we're going to put into Football Manager or something. We have actual football to talk about, and to get people ready for this season, we're going to do a Match Day 1 preview next week, but today we're going to be talking about transfers. So we're going to go team by team. We're going to start in K2. We're going to talk about some notable departures, what the team needed, who they got, and how much it's going to improve the team. So again, we're going to do that for all 10 K2 teams, and then at the end of that segment, we're going to pick some winners and losers. That's always fun. Always love throwing myself under the bus like that. We'll also talk about the best bit of business in K2, what we think might have been the best signing, and then we're going to repeat that for K1. We're going to do that again for them. So with all that, gentlemen, we got a lot to get into. So that's all before we get to the mailbag as well. So we do have a mailbag. So if you're watching live on social media with us right now, go ahead and get in your questions, comments, reactions throughout the show. And we had a few come in beforehand that we'll be getting to as well. So I'm going to put about a 2-minute timer on us here just to make sure that we can get through this. And after my whole rambling introduction, I realized that I think I'm first here as well.
You are, yes. You're covering. I can stay. I can host and bring you in for this one if you like. First on the clock, we have Ryan Walters, and I believe your time starts now.
Thank you, Matthew. We will be talking about Ansan Greeners because we're doing this in alphabetical order. And some notable departures, well, they did definitely have some very notable departures. Gustavo Viente-Cinco is probably the most notable. He had 9 goals for them in 2019, but also very notably, and I'll talk about this when I get to Busan, had 11 yellows and not one, but 2 red cards last year as well. And also they lost Jang Hyuk Jin, and he had 12 assists for them last year. So that's 9 goals and 12 assists between those two. And what they needed was someone to fill the gap left by Jang and Viente-Cinco. And what they got, well, they got Kim Rundo, who came over from Bucheon, had a pretty good year for Bucheon last year with 6 goals and 6 assists. They also got Kim Kyung-jun. He had 4 goals and 3 assists on loan at Seoul Eland last year. And most notably, they also got Suni Saad, someone that I'm familiar with from his time in MLS, a fellow Michigander, born and raised in Michigan. Hi, Suni. But from the playing side of things, he had 6 goals in 10 appearances in a short stint in Lebanon last year. And before that, he had 5 goals in 29 appearances for India 11 in the USL, which is the second division over in the USA. But he also spent some time in Thailand, so he's very familiar with being abroad. I think he's going to be a really good fit for them. So how much do these guys improve the team? Well, I think that's going to depend on if Kim Rundo and Kim Kyung-jun can keep the form that they had last year. So Kim Rundo did have a good year, but they'll be hoping it's not a blip. And they're also going to really need everybody to hit the ground running. And last year they were way too dependent on Viente-Cinco. So I think this year, if all 3 of these players are really able to hit the ground running and kind of hit their stride right away, then I think Ansan will be in good shape. But that's a lot of changes. And again, with those 9 goals from Viente-Cinco and those 12 assists from my voice is with me today, Jang Hyuk Jin, I think that's going to be pretty tough to replace. And we'll see. We'll see. Whew. All right. My time on the clock is up.
Did you get there inside 2 minutes?
I did ish.
I mean, you could be lying about it because I definitely did not have a timer. So
yeah. But I mean, I'm really curious to see Ansan this year because last year I think they really surprised, and this year it'll be a testament to the team if they can keep that up, and if it wasn't just Viente-Cinco, which, 9 goals doesn't necessarily carry a team, but he did come up really big for them in a lot of big moments. So be very curious to see them this year. But we're going to move on to the other half of the Line 4 derby there. And up next, we have FC Anyang, and Pete's going to tell you all about them.
Yeah, so the headline departure, Cho Kyu-sung heading to Jeonbuk, and they've also lost a couple of other key players in Kim Sang-won and Palacios. And you'd think those players heading to the top division, K-League 1, that doesn't help when your aspirations are to get to that division, when you're losing the players that are deemed to be good enough to play there. Kim Won Min and Alex also saw their contracts run out. So they've got a lot of space for incomings, and Kim Hyung Yeol has been busy. He's got Nilsson, who has moved across the city of Seoul from Bucheon, and also Kim Jong Young, who found his opportunities limited at Busan last season. He'll be there at centre back. And if they finish, I don't think they will finish as high as their third place last season. They're pinning a lot of hopes on new foreign signing Khurshid Giyosov, who was at Bunyokdor in the Uzbek League last season. He did enjoy his best spell of his career, reaching double figures for the first time. But you know what it's like moving over to a different country.
Mm-hmm.
And after an impressive loan spell last year, Lee Jong-bin has made his loan from Incheon United permanent. So he'll be key again in midfield. And finally, up front, Boadu Maxwell Acosti has been signed. Maybe splashing out some of that Chokyusung money. He's had plenty of appearances around the top Italian divisions and also a spell in Croatia. But to be fair, his goal scoring record hasn't been the best.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, like you say, Anyang, man, the departures really hit them hard. They lost almost all of their goal scorers from last year. And like you say, when you're losing the talent that was good enough to be in K1 and your goal is to be up there yourself, that's pretty tough. So, I mean, both of those teams on the line for a derby, it's going to be really difficult for both of them this year.
It's a tough ask.
Yeah.
Especially when other clubs are getting investment and, you know, Jeju looks strong. So, tough ask.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about them in a minute. But first, we're going to talk about another team up here in the capital area, and that is Bucheon 1995 FC, and Matthew is going to tell you about them.
Yeah, there seems to be a pattern going on here because Bucheon are also a team with a large overhaul this winter. As mentioned, they've lost Kim Yeon-do to Ansan Greeners. They've also lost Marlon De Jesus and Nilsson Jr., who's made the trip over to Anyang, as also mentioned. Chae Chul-won and An Tae-hyun have gone to Sangju. And Captain Park Gun, well, he's gone to Paju to do his national service. Kim Jae-woo, defender in the AFC Under-23 squad, he's gone to Daegu. And Im Dong-hyuk, the vice-captain, has gone to Jeju. So we're also left with Moon Ki-han, their centre midfielder. He was one of their longest-serving players. But yeah, he's gone as well. He's been sent to Gangneung. So what they needed, well, it's a bit hard as they had a strong season towards the end of that. So the foundations were quite good for that team, but now the team's been completely ripped apart and they need to replace all of those players. They've done all right. They've brought in Lee Hyun-il from Songnam on loan. He was good in K2, but he struggled when he was up in K1. Seo Myung-won, he's come in from Gangwon FC. He's a forward. He was, again, good at K2, back at Daejeon in 2014, 2015, but he struggled in K1. William Barbio, 27, he played in the Brazilian third tier. He's a winger, but he has got experience in Brazil's Serie A as well. Jefferson Baiano, he's 24, he's a striker. He spent the last 2 years in J2. We've got Kim Young-chun, he's a former John Book player. He played at left back and centre back for John Book, and he's had loans to Anyang and Suwon in recent years, but he's never been able to make it in the top flight. But he could do well again at the second tier. Kwak Hae-sung has also come in. He's a former Incheon United fullback. He's got some K1 experience at Songnam Jeju as well. He's military exempt because he's part of the Asian Games 2014 team, and he could be a very good acquisition. Also, they've got a number of young players from unis on loan. One that was picked out by our Bucheon columnist, George Slade, is midfielder Kim Kang-san. He joins from Daegu University and was the second best player in the U-League in 2017. Fortunately, Daegu Uni went out in the first round of knockouts this year, though, so not great year for them. How much will all these signings improve the team? Well, it's a fresh look. The signings made have been solid for this level, and there is perhaps the nucleus for some good football, but with so many wholesale changes, I can imagine it'll take some time for them to get going before reaching a similar level to where they were at the end of last year. With a shortened season, though, that could be too soon.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The shortened season is something we haven't talked about yet. It is only going to be 27 games, so in K2, that means that each team is going to play each other 3 times, and that's it. And then we're done after that. So there's usually a few more games for them to kind of get things going. And for Bucheon last year, they really needed that. It was the run that they had at the very end of the season that got them into the playoffs. So like you say, they're going to have to gel a lot quicker this year than they did last year. And yeah, like I said, there's a theme emerging here because up next I've got Cheongnam Asan, a team with as many different names in the past few years as they have players on their roster currently. They are now Cheongnam Asan after being Asan Magunghwa for a little while, after being Asan Police, Ansan Police, all over the place. Anyway, Cheongnam Asan this year, their most notable departure is Oh Se-hoon, the U23 championship winner, had 7 goals in 30 appearances for them last year. He moved to Sangju to finish up his military duty early and move up to K1. Really smart move for him. And, you know, the 7 goals I don't think tell the whole story for how good of a player he is, especially for his age. He's tremendous in hold-up play, uses his body really well. He's in and around the box in really smart positions. I think they're really, really going to miss him. And that leads into what they needed, which was a goal scorer. Last year, they had just 42 goals, which was the second worst in K2, and that was good enough for a minus 14 goal difference. So that is what they need. They need some goals. And what they got for it, well, they got their first ever foreign signings. Cheongnam Asan is no longer a police team, so they are finally able to get in some foreign signings. And the first one they had was Armin Mujokic, and he's 24 years old. He came over from the Belgian second division, spent time with the Austrian U20s in 2015, so he has some international experience. And at this point in his career, he's mainly been used as a substitute, so I think he'll really be looking forward to getting some regular game minutes. And they also brought in Philip Hellquist, and he is a Swedish center forward who had 7 goals and 16 appearances in the Swedish third tier last year. So the common theme between those two is that I think they're both looking for some regular minutes at maybe a slightly higher level, you could argue, than they're used to. No besmirching the Belgian second division and the Swedish third division here, but I think both of those guys are looking for some regular minutes, and that's going to determine how much they can improve this team, because they're pretty much unknown quantities at this point. But interestingly enough, I was looking over our transfer notes from the last time we did one of these, and I was talking about this unknown Bruno Bayo guy that the Jeonnam Dragons signed, and all he did was just light the league on fire and score enough goals to earn a move over to Daejeon Hana-Sinison. So what do I know in that regard? But we have seen a lot of players come from seemingly nowhere. Kunimoto is another one that when he came over to Gyeongnam, nobody really knew who he was. He didn't have a lot of stats to back himself up at that point. So we'll see. We'll see if Cheongnam Asan has the scouting that we've seen Gyeongnam and other teams have in the past. But as of right now, they're a pretty unknown quantity, and there's always a lot of change at Asan, and this year's another year with it. But this year, they're at least going in with some certainty, knowing that they are a citizen club, knowing that they are going to focus on football on the field. So it could be a really fun season for them. We'll see. And another team that, well, I think they're expecting a really fun season. Up next, we're going to talk about Daejeon Hana-Sinison, the newly renamed Daejeon Hana-Sinison, and Pete's going to tell you about them. I think. Pete, do we have you? Oh boy, Bins, can you still hear me? Oh, the technical issues. Aren't these fun? Well, it would appear that I can still be heard anyway. I guess. No, Pete, you're not coming through at all. Nope, neither of you are muted. Nothing. Well, in that case, Internet, I think we're going to have to be right back. Nothing. Well, if you're tuning in on social, I don't think there's all sorts of issues here. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to finish this offline. We're just going to have a phone call and finish the podcast, and you should tune in to the podcast because, something's going wrong with the internet here tonight. But for now, I will say thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, reactions, get those into the comments below. But for now, we're going to stop dealing with these issues. And talk to you soon.